So today, I have with me for an interview, Countess of Roses. Hello, Rose. How are you doing?
I'm doing very well, thank you. And yourself?
Pretty good, pretty good. As you know, it's been a very busy day. But I'm happy to set it off, end it off, cap it off, whatever the correct phrase is, with a wonderful interview with yourself. So, tell me, Rose, for the audience who is not aware, does not know, who are you? What do you do?
Um, I am a NSFW slash SFW voice actress. I have just gotten into doing some animation work, but I'm very also well known for being an artist, particularly that involving with lesbianism.
All right. So let me ask you this, something basic and starter. When did you first get into voice acting and animating?
With the voice acting, I've always been kind of big into doing different voices. I mean, even when I was younger, I I can do Raven's voice without a problem, and that's because for me, I have a naturally deeper voice. So I always kind of felt that was a bit of an advantage I had over others, and I grew up when I was younger, uh, that I was in choir and I was an alto. So that always felt kind of natural to me, and I always loved, playing around with different voices and whatnot. And it's something I used to like kind of do for fun, but it's like at the same time, it's something I kind of always wanted to do and everything. As in terms of with animating and artistry, I've always been very artistic since I was young and everything too. But at the same time, like I never seen a lot with lesbian content or whatnot, even in the NSFW community. So it kind of made me want to do a little more, at least from my my end, of course, and try to give it a bit more of a, for lack of a better word, give it a bit more personality, or just have a bit more story with it.
I'm curious, what made you interested in getting into not safe for work content?
Um, a lot of that primarily was because it's kind of tricky to explain, but I guess in some ways it was to help build up a little bit of my confidence because I am very I am very shy in real life. I am not very talkative. I'm not very sociable with other people. So sometimes I kind of feel like, I need to get at least a little bit out of my shell. So part of that I kind of figure is, getting into voice acting, even in NSFW work, as to kind of help me get used to it a bit more.
Interesting. Interesting. And have you had a boost in confidence since doing this? Have you found yourself to be more sociable?
I would say it's taken a bit, but yes, I have gotten there. It's still a bit of a process because I'm still not fully used to it. I mean, even on the Discord server, I have just started to kind of get used to talking to people, and I'm still very nervous talking to said people. But at the same time, I am enjoying that part immensely, and I'm still I'm still growing about it. I'm still trying to get used to how everything is all done. Um, in terms of like with improving my confidence and everything and whatnot, and my insecurities and and everything. I apologize if I'm rambling. Um, just essentially just it is still a process, but I'm still growing at it.
Well, I think you're doing a damn fine job, if you don't mind me saying. Now, if you don't mind my asking, what's your creative process? Whether it's getting ready to voice record and play a character, or your animations and your animations. Like, what's your creative process? What do you look for inspiration? How do you do what you do?
It kind of depends, because sometimes if it's a recurring character that I have voiced, um, like with a couple I've done for a couple people I've worked with, which I will probably mention later. Um, I try to get more into their mind and into their moods. so that it's easier for me to kind of jump into there. As for with my artwork and whatnot, for them in particular, um, a lot of that has to do with sometimes whatever I'm in the mood for to make, and sometimes when I'm putting them together, I actually am voicing the characters out to kind of be making the scene feel more real. Because whenever I'm taking any of the photos or anything of the scenes or of the poses or stuff that I'm making of the artwork, I always try to have it that it's almost like a still frame, like you caught it from a movie. Like you froze it and you pause the movie and you are watching what happened. Because sometimes if you make it too stilted, then it's going to seem too acted out, so it's not going to seem that genuine. And that's always the one thing I go for is the genuine, real sort of emotions and feel from what you're looking at.
All right. All right. Tell me, what are your inspirations? Like, are there any particular voice actors or actresses you look up to? Was there a TV show, a movie, a video game, or whatnot that you heard voice acting from that really inspired you to get into this? Like, what are your inspirations for the work you do?
I want to say like amongst them were the ones, at least one of the ones that got me into doing voice acting. I want to say, ironically enough, was the original Teen Titans animated series, um, and with the character Raven, because really out of a lot of characters, she was the one that had the deeper voice, and and I could never find again anybody who could sound like me, and yet she was the closest. And even when I was younger, I was able to really get her voice down a lot of times on the spot, and that's something that I always took a lot of pride in. And I want to say like another inspiration for me though were two other ladies. Um, one of them being Mary Elizabeth McGlynn, who is she was Motoko Kusanagi from Ghost in the Shell Standalone Complex. Because I love how mature her voice always was, but yet whenever she was serious, you could tell she was serious. Whenever she was actually joking or being sarcastic, you could tell she was being joking or sarcastic, and how her voice just really was the character. You didn't hear just the actor, you heard the character. And then the other one, ironically enough, because as I said, I grew up with anime, amongst them was the Tenchi Muyo series. And even though I loved Ayaka and I could identify with her, I was kind of like that when I was younger, my probably my favorite voice, ironically, was Ryoko, who was actually voiced by Patria Burchard, because she had to be going from being psycho crazy to being madly in love to pissing people off to being a sarcastic, snarky badass to being kind and gentle. You have to go through a lot just to play Ryoko. So those were like the couple characters that I really loved and grew up with, and kind of their voices always stuck to me the most.
Interesting. Interesting. Now, what about the animation? Where did that come in?
Um, ironically enough, a lot of that became from when one of the people I have voiced for MMJ, um I have known about him doing this kind of work for years. Um at the time though, like I couldn't do any of those kind of things. I knew that he could, because I had seen his work like throughout the years. However, I couldn't because unfortunately I had an Apple computer. So it didn't really sync very well. The software didn't with the laptop. But it always made me want to kind of do more of that kind of work. And when I started to try them out, um there were some things like I would be looking back with others and seeing how they would animate and whatnot. And there'd be some things like I would kind of notice that I felt like actually would add or mean something. And I remember one of them. was like saying how fingers were hard to move and everything, and how sometimes I'd see like the thrusting animations and they would almost seem very stilted, and it's like there's no emotion behind it. There's no connection. And it's like, if you're trying to make this be just a casual fucking scene, okay, that's great. But you still need to show, like, the two of them are at least horny for one another. Otherwise, you get terrible scenes, such as Ride to Hell Retribution. Less name, the better. On the other hand, if you make it seem like it's too passionate, then it is going to come across as trying too hard. So in that sort of way, I was trying to kind of see like what would be a good balance. And at least for my characters, I do want to show like the smallest tiny things, such as like the fingers moving, the person breathing, because that's something you don't really think about, at least when you're animating sometimes, is, the characters need to breathe. So it's like, even if you just have it like their chest is going up and down, then at the very least, you're still showing movement, or you're showing how different the other character is affecting them. And even smaller movements, like a movement of the leg, movement of the arm, the other person who's probably receiving it, like how their eyelids are fluttering, like that kind of stuff. Or even how their eyebrows move, like just small things here and there, I do feel kind of can make or break it. It just depends on the context you're doing the scene.
Interesting. Now tell me, is this your passion? Is this your dream job? Is this what you want to do for the rest of your life?
I would say I would love doing it. I have been going to school currently for film, so that might explain why I always love looking and taking photos of like different variations of scenes, or mapping them out, or trying to put them together. But I am getting a bachelor's in film, and I have a minor in theater. And I always felt like, to me, that was a big advantage, and that is something I want to do. Like, ideally, I would love to do LGBT content in mainstream films, and actually kind of show up in the normalcy with them. Such as how there's that kind of normalcy within the NSFW community. Because nobody's going to bat an eye about, two girls having sex in the NSFW community. But to do that for a mainstream movie that you would see in the movie theaters, oh my god, it'd be controversy. It's like, why? There's no real big difference between that and a regular movie with terrible sex. We can look at 50 Shades of Grey. Yeah. Which I honestly had to read, and I lost a bet and I saw all the movies. Never go to a movie theater with a bunch of horny housewives that are taking their preteen daughters. Never do that, guys. The dialogue is as bad as you think it is. Like, I have seen cheesy pornos with better dialogue, and that's only because I can tell the actors are at least having fun. And that's kind of one of the things that I think kind of set me into a bit of an overdrive with it. Ironically, was 50 Shades of Grey, because I have seen people who've done this kind of work in NSFW form, and it's like, I can at least tell they know what they're talking about, or they at least know what they're researching about, or at least know what they're doing. Even there's like one or two things here and there they're not doing, like they skip the aftercare, like they just fade away and cut to them laying in bed. Okay, that's lame, and I don't like it. But I can also understand, because sometimes aftercare can take a very long time to show. Again, I do understand that. But I want to say with 50 Shades of Grey, like, the moaning sound fake, the sex scenes were obviously so badly staged. So it's like, it was an inner filmmaker within me, and even the inner actress within me that's like, I can do this shit so much fucking better.
Oh, hell yeah, girl. Oh my goodness. All right. Let me ask you this. What are you currently working on that you're most proud of, that you'd like to showcase for the audience listening in?
Um, okay, so I am gonna be, I am currently doing a couple of projects so far as of late. One of the ones that is going to be released, believe it or not. Have you ever heard of MMJ?
I have. I've met him in the Discord. Had the pleasure.
Well, I am doing a couple of voice works for him. I He is doing a collaboration with Terrible Fairy, and it is involving two of Terrible Fairy's characters, Valerie and Victoria. Um, and then there is also going to be MJ's characters, Rebel and Cat. That is going to be released very soon. So it might be released by the time by the time you have this released. I don't know. Another one is that with the it's a fantasy series that MJ is working on called The Chronicles of Sandgard. And I am going to be voicing one of the characters. Ironically enough, is Queen Angelique.
Oh my.
Yep, that's what I'm doing. Um, in terms of again, this more than likely the first one with Terrible Fairy is going to be released by this point, or at least very soon, because they are starting to wrap everything up.
Links to all of Rose's projects will be in the comment section and in the description down below.
Okay, thank you. A couple things I will mention, but I'll ask them if it's okay. Another one I'm working for is Zollis. Ironically enough, that is kind of where I got a lot of my start. Is through him and through MJ. Well, I'm gonna be doing another for Zollis. It might be a familiar character that people are familiar with. I'm not gonna say a name, I'll tell you that. Nor am I gonna say a name of the characters that I'm doing with for MMJ. So you're just gonna have to find that part out. And I'm gonna be doing another one this time for Waver.
Oh, Mr. Waver CD.
The very one. And yes, I just recently did the Marie Rose one for him. So that was rather fun. Trust me, people were surprised that I could do an anime-ish kind of girlish sound.
Would you like to give a demonstration for those listening in?
Let's see. Mm, kawaii desu ne?
Okay, I'll take it.
I'm sorry if it's not that good.
No. Nonsense. I'm sure everyone listening had a I'm not sure how to say it's going to sound dirty no matter what I say.
Considering the work I do, and that's nothing.
Well, moving on from professional business side of things, how about, if you don't mind, we get to know you a bit more?
Sure, by all means.
Alright, now, well, actually, before we get into the personal questions, would you like to take this time to gush about your friend MJ and make him blush? Because I know he's listening.
More than likely he is. He's really good at what he does, and I don't feel he gets enough credit for what he does. He does put a lot of work into everything he makes, and yeah, sometimes it can be frustrating when he be working on something and it's not shown that much love or appreciation, or even just things that can improve, things that can be better, things that were that was just okay. It's like I don't feel he gets enough of that kind of sort of appreciation, and he's honestly one of the few I do know that does focus on doing both story and on the intimacy, and that is something I have always loved about him doing, and I always keep telling him, that's what I feel makes you you, and to never really give up on that sort of stuff. And I have no doubt he will never give up on it. And I guess for me, I that's why I always loved doing voices for him, because he cares about his characters and he cares about anybody who voices for him with that much sort of care like he does for his characters, no matter what. and I just don't feel he gets that much love or appreciation. So if anybody does want to check out his work or anything, please go on in and do give him a lot of love. He really does deserve it. And trust me, for all the years he's done this kind of work, for all the stuff he has to do, um, he really deserves it.
Well, if that doesn't make a grown man cry, I don't know what will. So, all of you listening in, please go check out and support Rose's friend MJ. Links, comments, descriptions, you know how it is. So, Rose, now let me ask you, what are some of your favorite hobbies? Video games, movies, television, music? What do you enjoy?
Um, the thing is with me is that I'm very eclectic. I don't like a certain genre when it comes to movies or even with music. I mean, I could go from listening to Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart to going to listening to Evanescence. I could be listening to Michael Jackson all the way to Pink. So I have a very unique, weird taste. I mean, sometimes I will listen to works with the violinist Lindsey Sterling, all the way um to movie soundtracks, like from that of Harry Potter, um from the series of Unfortunate Events, to Disney, to DreamWorks. I have a very unique, weird taste, and even anime music I do love and enjoy. I still remember the full theme of Pokemon, so that should tell you something about me. And I still remember the original English deep dub for Sailor Moon. Oh boy, do I remember that. um, in terms of with movies as well, I I'm not a big fan of comedy, but it's only because I'm more of a fan of like dark or really sort of sarcastic kind of comedies. And even like the Addams Family, I fucking love to death, and to me, it's always been hilarious. Um, I just recently saw it chapter two, and seriously, I thought it was both funny and touching and terrifying. But then again, that's because I hate clowns. um, hey, it's rational.
I'm not
Um,
judging. I'm not judging.
um, I would also say, like, I do love horror movies a lot. Ironically enough, though, I'm in the minority when it comes to Hereditary. I personally hated that movie, but everybody else seems to love it.
Interesting. I have
Um,
yet to see it. I've heard a lot of good things about it, but I'm curious, why did you not like the movie?
because it's like, to me, I'm not a big fan of like the creepy obvious kid is the creepy obvious kid. So it's like, okay, we already know it's going to be scary, so then it doesn't really leave you much room to be scared. And even with the stuff that does happen, like, yeah, there are some bad shit that happens, and I do give him credit for this, how the cinematography is done, and sometimes for how the acting is done. But I personally did not like the twist. I thought it could have been so much better handled, and there's some things about that truly. I had watched the movie about 7, 8, 9 times, and I, for the life of me, cannot figure out. I don't know if it's just me. I don't know if it's just me, being subjective or something, but it's like, to me, I could not see what people were talking about being clever or being innovative or being different when it's like, okay, to me, this is just, it is highly relying on jump scares. It is highly relying mainly on shocking things. So I don't really feel that scared. I just feel more or less like, okay, whatever, that's cool.
All right then, all right. I see where you're coming from. I see where you're coming from. But what are some horror movies that you love?
Actually, believe it or not, I do love A Quiet Place. To me,
Ooh.
it's amazing because there are some things about it that you don't think about in terms of with everyday life, especially with your hearing. Like, I love the fact that when the kids are playing with the board game, they are doing so with like felt pieces, how they are eating food on these giant I couldn't tell if they were like giant plant leaves or they were like cabbage leaves or something. And it's like, yeah, this is kind of stuff you wouldn't necessarily think about, or even how they have a pot inside where that's their stove. And it's like, yeah, this is the kind of stuff you don't really think about. And when I was in the movies, when I was in the movie theater, how it's almost like every single bit of sound would make you jump, and you're sort of like almost on edge half the time. Like the part where the nail was sticking out in the stairs. Anytime anyone walked near it, I could hear everybody in the theater going like, "Oh!" Yes, I was amongst those people. And when the mother was, her water broke and she was giving birth, that was very tense because if you know anything about women when they're giving birth, it is not a quiet process. So you are literally left petrified the whole time, trying to figure out what's going to happen. And even the times when they'd be going to the deaf girl, that they don't, make you feel sorry for her or anything, but you do kind of, I guess, see from her perspective how she can't hear anything. So if something happens, she literally cannot hear anything. And I always thought that was really cleverly done. And I love those kind of movies where they try to do something different. I mean, I've seen Get Out, and I thought it was fantastic with what it was doing. And you can interpret it in a lot of different ways. Um, I am a bit of a sucker for the classics, of course, like the Universal movie monsters. Do not see a Tom Cruise mummy movie, by the way, because that one will make you hate the original Boris Karloff version or even the Brendan Fraser action one, which, say what you will, I know it's not supposed to be the Boris Karloff version, but at the very least you can tell they were having fun. Tom Cruise's one, not so much.
So, what I'm getting from here is that you like horror movies with unique premises and that play with the senses.
Um, yeah, I really do. I like horror movies where they try to at least be different, but in a way they try to play around with what does make them different. But they do it in a way where it's not overt or in your face. And sometimes, I do like classic horror. I do like things that are just bloody and gory. I do like that kind of stuff. And sometimes, yeah, I do like things that can be a bit exploitative. Like, I love Rob Zombie's House with Thousand Corpses. Rest in peace, Ed Haig.
Ah.
Yeah, like I'm a bit of a Rob Zombie fan because I know what films I'm gonna get going into watching them. And ironically enough, I was never a big fan of the Halloween franchise, but I did like the most recent Halloween film, and I really thought that was handled very well.
Ah, I see. I see. Now, I'm curious, do you like horror video games as well?
I do actually. I'm kind of picky with them, but I do tend to like a lot of story-driven video games. Like, I'm not gonna be playing Skyrim or anything like that. I am not that suicidal. Um, I like some of the games I do really like are Life is Strange, because I really like the idea and the premise and everything that kind of goes around with it. Plus, Chloe and Max are fucking adorable. They are a couple. That is in my canon. I will fight anybody who says otherwise. Um,
I found a kindred spirit. I love Life is Strange as well.
Thank you. And yay, glad somebody else does. Um, I'm a very, very big fan, believe it or not, of Star Wars The Old Republic. And
Oh shit, I know some people in the comments that are gonna love and adore you now.
yes, my very first character on there was is a Sith Inquisitor, because I love the idea of how you can make somebody who is at the dark side still make light side choices, and how there seems to be a lot more that goes into the story not just, okay, defeat the bad guy and you save the galaxy, maybe. Like, I'm not diminishing the importance of Star Wars, far from it. I'm just saying that it seems as if the Old Republic does offer a lot more in terms of with storytelling and even with character development, because your choices really do matter in that game,
Mm-hmm.
even if they're small and minuscule. And I guess that's one of the things I like is those kind of games where your choices do matter. And I know the ones where people say like, oh, well, it really doesn't matter. And I have seen games where your choice really doesn't matter, such as Beyond Two Souls, where it really doesn't matter because, either or you're still going to be playing it out nearly identical. Um, and it might or might not affect your relationship with the characters, but that's kind of one of the reasons why I even love Telltale games, particularly even with that of The Walking Dead. Like, that was kind of the one that kind of got me a little more back into video games, but prior to that, I was always just a fan of Kingdom Hearts, and those were the kind of games I played. With the other exception being Until Dawn, but the Walking Dead Telltale series, I really do love.
Ah, I hear that. I hear that. Such good games. Such good games. Such good stories and characters. Now, I'm curious, Rose, because I couldn't help but notice you obviously have an endearment for the Gothic aesthetic. Why is that?
Um, that's kind of an interesting thing because um, I grew up in a Catholic environment. So I grew up in a Catholic school for a long portion of my life. Um, so I kind of grew up like knowing about like the creepy Gothic architectures and even like those kind of stories and whatnot. But it was always one of the things that I was kind of even well known for even when I was younger because I loved the Gothic aspect. I loved how they could have a dark side um, to life, but yet they can still find some beauty within it. How you don't have to be dark and moody and depressing. You could just love the, I guess, some of the things that are gothic. Like you can be a fan of Edgar Allan Poe. You can be a fan of Stephen King, which is considered gothic, or love Vincent Price movies, but you don't necessarily have to fully agree with the goth culture. And for me, I still love Disney movies, but I will wear black. I will wear black lipstick and whatnot. And that's just that's just me. And maybe it's because of the environment I grew up in, but I always felt, it's a lot more challenging being a goth than there is, trying to be a normal person because I would get weird looks. And I have people asking me if I am a devil worshiper. I'm not, by the way. Um, and yeah, it's like I really just don't care because I have other people that would literally, say to me that they love how I look because I do stand out and I really do not care. And I always felt like, that's one of the things, even with all my insecurities and issues, that's one of the things I still kind of keep a big hold for myself is that I am goth, even like in places where people are gonna like be gawking at me, and it's like, okay, and
Ah, well, good on you. Good on you. Now, let's switch this around a bit. What are some of your favorite foods? What do you enjoy eating?
um, let's see. Well, I am a really big fan of sweets. um, yeah, like I would love chocolate. I would be loving strawberries, blackberries, that kind of stuff. Um, sometimes I will be wanting a good steak. Other times I will be wanting um like very good spaghetti or something. Um, and other times I would be wanting what I call the college student diet, which is just ramen noodles and bagel bites or hot pockets, like that kind of stuff. It sometimes depends on my mood. And it happens because sometimes I don't really have a favorite type of food. I just, whatever I'm craving for is what I'll have. And trust me, my cravings can be very weird because one week I will be loving salted caramel, next week I'll be into bananas. My body can never figure out what it wants.
I understand that. I understand that completely. Now, switching it up again, what are some of your favorite animals? Animals you find adorable that you lose yourself over?
Um, well, as of right now, I have two black cats, who literally will cry anytime I leave the house, so I always find them adorable. Um, Obviously I do find puppies cute because well, puppies are cute for me. I guess not obviously to some, but I have two Great Pyrenees puppies at my house as well, and yes, they are both very lovable, but they can bark loud as fuck. Um, Ironically enough, like other animals I find very adorable, believe it or not, are the fox-faced bat. They're basically the ones that will just eat fruit or eat insects. I always found them so adorable and very cute.
Aww.
Um, let's see. Ferrets I always find very adorable. Foxes I find extremely precious. To an extent, snakes I do, but basically the non-poisonous ones. Um, I guess like the more medium length ones that could just roll around on your wrist, I think are just really adorable and really pretty. Especially the ones that are not poisonous or not gonna, ravage or eat or anything bad. Like I don't find the idea of like, them eating mice charming. Like, okay. Um, because I do think to an extent very well, like they are very pretty and beautiful, and some of them are very cute. And then there are some that I will literally avoid like the plague. Um, let's see what else. At least other ones that kind of come to mind on the spot. I would probably also say I have seen, I have seen, young birds flying around my area, and baby elephants I find very adorable, and of course, lions and cubs and tigers, and of course, and panthers. Again, giant cats. Who thought? Cause I just find them very adorable, and phew, crap, what was the other one? Leopards and cheetahs I find very adorable, but wolves I fucking love. I fucking love wolves. I adore them. The I think the wolf pups are cute as all hell, and they are adorable and they are precious, and I just fucking love them.
I can't blame you. I cannot blame you there. Alright, now, let me ask you this. Can you name me something that you absolutely hate? What do you hate? Whether it's a person, a hobby, like whatever. Just whatever. What is something you absolutely hate?
Oh boy. Let's see. I am arachnophobic. I hate spiders more than life itself. If you try to show me a tarantula, I will literally show a flamethrower and I will kill it. I am that terrified of spiders. To put in perspective, I'll never go to Australia for as long as I live unless they have a giant spider bomb where they kill them. Then I will go. Until then, not gonna happen. Not even go into the tropical areas because I am that deadly terrified of spiders. Um, let's see. Um, Obviously I'm not. I wouldn't say I'm political or anything, but I obviously am not a big fan of the current president for a billion reasons. But details on that. Um, I would say though another thing I hate. And this is probably more or less a pet peeve with me, but I hate how for some films I have seen, at least when they're trying to do LGBT content, they either have it that the LGBT characters or couple end up being separated, they die, or in a woman's case, they just say it's just a phase. What? Like, one of my most hated movies of all time is Kissing Jessica Stein. And that's because the main girl is shown to be in this sort of loving relationship with another girl, but because she got so entranced by dicks, she decided to date the guy who quite literally was an asshole the whole time. And it's like, okay, and yet people regard it as a very good movie. What the fuck? Really? 50 Shades of Grey, I actually hate. Even with all the stuff that, I
What
have
do you mean
said.
you actually hate? That's totally believable. Most people do.
Well, it's like, despite, the things I was saying, like how I could do it better and everything, I still hate it. I feel, the plot is completely stupid. The characters are really, really offensive. It feels both misogynistic and misogynistic. Misandry is, the hatred of men,
Oh yes, oh
because not
yes.
many people know what that means. But it does feel very misogynistic and misogynistic. So yeah, you get hate from both sides. It really feels like the author doesn't even understand how 21st century works. And it also, like, I get, James Bond's like a fantasy kind of thing, but at the very least, you can at least forgive maybe the older films for being a product of their time. I don't know how you could forgive 50 Shades of Grey for that sort of excuse.
They're just such bad movies. They're such bad movies.
Yeah. like I could forgive like the older Disney movies because they really were a product of their time, but at the same time, it's like you kind of appreciate for what they were at the time. I mean, I'm probably one of the few who actually looks forward to the live action remakes of them because, yeah, there are some of them that do really need an update and really do need a change, and how some of the things that have happened really would not work today. So I don't mind that. What I do hate, though, in terms of, at least in terms of even with entertainment and everything, is how, because I do regard myself as a feminist, and I know that's going to be a trigger word for some people, but I include for both sexes, both men and women. So I do feel if you start putting out like any sort of feminine, the second you start saying that like your piece had any sort of feminist message about it, but yet you're demonizing a certain thing, then I am completely done with you. Like this, there was this one movie I did see. I'm sorry. Um,
It's okay.
recently, which was called Swiped. It's on Netflix, or if it isn't before, I don't know if it's still on there or not. But it is horrible. The director apparently said that it was meant to be more or less a parody or satire of like romance movies or of dating apps, but it's so fucking awful because it will basically, men only want, because the men want a hookup app where, oh, they only know anything about the girl that they want to fuck. And then the girls, they want one where it's just all about relationships, and the guys have to get to know them before doing anything with them. Because, yeah, all men want to just have sex, and all women want to do is just get married and pop out babies. Yeah, totally the case. And, oh, yeah, and they're all straight. Yeah, that's totally gonna work. And they then make fun. They basically say, like, any woman who wants to just do hookup or just have casual sex or flings or anything like that are sluts and bimbos. And that the ones who want to be in relationships, oh, they're just pure and sweet and everything. It's like, the fuck? Um, that's just horrible. And it's just as horrible as saying, that men only want to have sex. And yet the director claims that this is for that she's trying to do it because, she sees it as a sort of feminist message. The second you do that, I'm done with you. Because I do believe, a tit for tat kind of thing. Which means you can't exactly call a woman a slut for sleeping around with a bunch of guys that she's not dating. But you can't do that with a guy who sleeps around with a bunch of women he's not dating. I see as equal or. You can't do it either or. So you just have it either as equal or not.
It makes no sense, honestly, to demonize either lifestyle. You're not hurting anybody.
Yeah, and just because I'm not doing it, I mean, I have my own personal issues and everything and whatnot about it, but that doesn't mean I'm going to demonize you. The only things I might say is to be careful,
Oh, of course.
or just
Wear protection, kiddos.
to wear protection, or you know, actually think about if not really think about if you're doing the right thing. Definitely not that, but just be aware if you fuck up, it's all on you. If you are the one who's having sex with somebody and you're leading them on, making them think it's going to be a relationship, well, that's all on
Ooh,
you.
that's just shitty. That's just shitty. Just be upfront and honest. There's nothing wrong with having upfront and honest casual sex and being consenting, both parties being consenting and understand what's going on. I don't understand the whole having to play with people to get what you want. We're adults. We can compromise.
Oh, yeah. I mean, a lot of people don't like to act like adults. And for me, though, it's I might not do that, but that doesn't mean I'm going to discourage you from doing it. It's just I might tell you, be careful about that person or whatnot, and actually, just don't sleep in the first bed that with a guy that gives you a compliment or something, basically, because you still don't know. It's pretty dangerous out there nowadays, so you still need to be careful regardless.
Good advice.
It's if you want to do that kind of stuff, great, go ahead, all for you. Because I do not believe in being sex negative or anything. I am just kind of, I guess I'm sex positive / neutral, where it's I do see where being too liberal about sex can be a bit of a problem. But on the other hand, it's you're going to be knowing about this stuff sooner or later, so how else are you going to know about it? Would you rather it be done by somebody who's not going to give a shit about you, or by people who know what the fuck they're talking about?
Exactly.
Like, it's one of the reasons why I even watch I watch porno movies, or even why I do sometimes want to even connect with the porn actresses, because some of them actually are really intelligent. One of them that comes to mind is Nina Hartley, and one of my favorites is Sin Sage, because of how she actually does her research, in terms of how men are, having sex with women, and she incorporates that into her work and actually does care and shows that kind of care with the women she's with, so it doesn't feel fake, essentially.
Ah, good on her. Good on her.
Yeah, and it's that's something I always kind of find rather interesting, is that in the sex industry, how you be thinking a lot of them are just bimbos or just sex maniacs that are just fucking because, they can. And it's that's how some people are. They really enjoy doing it because they like having sex a lot and they get paid for it. Okay, that's great for them. There are some who they just see it as a job, like a 9 to 5 job, like you and I would. Okay, whatever. And there are some where they really do take it seriously. And that's something I always find kind of fascinating, at least with the sex industry. It's probably not something I would want to participate in as an actress. Voice actors, maybe, but as an actress, no.
Fair. Fair enough. Fair enough. Alright, Rose. So, are you ready for some silly bullshit questions?
Go ahead.
Alright. Tits or ass?
Oh boy. Can I say what my orientation is? Probably help everybody out.
Oh, feel free. Feel free.
Well, here is a fun fact for everybody. I am a lesbian. I am an open goth. feminine slash Tommy, which is like a combination between a tomboy and girly girl, lesbian. So I guess the weird thing for me is that the kind of girls that I um, more or less would be like Ruby Rose or Sailor Uranus, which is a weakness for me. So yeah. With that being said, though, I will look at some really good tits on a woman, but I'm not gonna lie, if the woman has a good ass, I would be wanting to grab it.
Good answer. Good answer. I'll add that to the poll. All right, all right. So, let's say we're having a vampire apocalypse. What would you do? How would you survive?
Let's see. I would try to look for one lesbian, the one lesbian vampire who would still be around, probably ruling over the country. Um, and would seduce them, be turned into a vampire, and yet still be helping out humanity and trying to work my way into more or less being the mediator between humans and vampires, and then killing any other vampires that, pissed me off.
It's always the same. Like every time I ask a voice actor or actress this question about the apocalypse, like the majority answer is either I die or I join the team that's causing the apocalypse.
Well, I'm sorry, but if there's a sexy vampire, I would, you rather would be kind of on that one side, and then working it to where both sides can at least be on good equal terms.
Fair, fair. All right, now let me ask you this. What two unlikely foods would you combine to create something both delicious and disgusting?
That's kind of a good question. It might be something that I've personally had, but, I would want to say, pickled beets and cheese.
Why is that?
Because I have had, like cheese platters, and they've had pickled beets there, and believe it or not, I really do love pickled beets. And I probably would have it like maybe a couple slices of cheese with crackers, and there you go.
That does sound pretty good, huh? Yeah. Huh. I need to try that out. All right. So, Rose, tell me, what's the funniest joke you've ever heard?
That's kind of a good question. Um, hmm. I mean, I guess probably I kind of want to say from the epic battle raps of history. Because some of them are really damn good. Um, I guess the one I would want to say, um, at least for me, is it might sound a little weird, but it was the one with J.R.R. Tolkien versus George R.R. Martin, and it's basically the whole thing just makes me laugh because it's like, yeah, George R.R., you're going up against basically the father of the fantasy genre, and who was so badass that Led Zeppelin did songs for him.
God damn.
I'm not even joking. Actually, look it up.
Jesus, that is pretty badass.
And what do you got for Game of Thrones? Well, not to diminish it, but a lot of blood, a lot of gore, and a lot of titties.
And a terrible final season.
Yeah, I mean, I personally love Arya. That's the only reason I actually would pay attention to Game of Thrones, and I did love it how she did kill the Night King. I really loved that. I thought that was awesome. Then it went all downhill from there. And yes, even I haven't watched all of it. Yes, I am still one of those people that's pissed off that Cersei did not die a slow, painful death.
I hear that, but oof, Dany. Oof, what they did to Dany. Oof!
But
Oh, I
yeah,
feel so sorry for Danny fans. Oh.
I feel bad for anybody who's named their daughter Daenerys.
Oh yeah, that happened. That was a thing. Oh no.
It's like, oh, yeah, and then finding out that Jon Snow, spoilers for nobody who knows, was her nephew, and she still wanted to fuck him. That was awkward.
Woo! Okay, changing up questions now.
I'm sorry.
It's all right. All right. So Rose, tell me, if you had to wear the ugliest sweater, like you had no choice for a day, you had to wear the ugliest sweater. Where would you wear it at? Like where, if you had to, if you, like one day you had to wear the ugliest sweater and you had to go places, where would you go with it?
Um, Honestly, I would go to a theme park because at least for that kind of stuff, you can have some fun with it. And at least for me personally, um, like depending on even the design and everything, like you could still at least poke fun at what you're wearing. And I have seen people who have worn really, really horrible stuff when going to a theme park. So it's like, you're going to be around a bunch of people that aren't even going to care. Unless, you're causing trouble, in which case, yeah, they're probably going to care. But it's like, other than that, I would just probably do that.
All right, fair. Good answer. Good answer. All right, Rose. Now we're coming to the tail end of the interview, and at the end of these interviews, I like to do something a little special, a little different. How do you feel about asking me some questions? Can be as serious or as silly as you like.
Okay, you probably get this one a lot, but why did you want to interview voice actors or anybody who does who does voice acting or whatnot?
Okay, people need to start paying me if they're gonna keep asking this question.
I had a feeling you were asked.
Just a few dozen times. Okay, so this all started with a little video game called Subverse. You may have heard of it.
I think I have, yes.
Is Subverse. So it was a big deal. Highest Kickstarter funded lewd porn game of all time. Made a funny video about it. People really liked it. It blew up. People wanted me to make more content like that. So I made more content like that. Eventually, I caught the attention of voice actress Pixie Willow. We started talking, getting to know each other, and she introduced me to the AVA Discord. And so, like, after meeting all the people there, you're all such lovely, wonderful, kind people. And there's such a stigmatization around what you do. Like, I just want to do something to help you all, to help promote you all, lift you all up, like, do something beneficial with my platform. Because I feel like, I have this audience that I feel like I don't deserve, so I want to do something good. Like, I have this platform, I have this audience, let's do something good with them.
That actually does make a lot of sense, especially because, the sexual stigmatization that people love having for this kind of work. And I guess one of the things I probably would be asking is, like, what else do you hope to do with with these kind of interviews?
I'm hoping, because the YouTube thing won't last forever, I'm hoping, like, it's a bit of a wild card dream, not sure if it's going to happen, but I would hope that I could use these as a platform to become a talent agent, perhaps, like a manager, and help you all get work, and sponsors and stuff like that. Like, again, I'm still learning, I'm still young, I'm, like, there's so much out there in the world to learn and grow from, so I'm hoping that this is a stepping stone to something great where I can just help even more people.
Oh, that's really pretty good, and that's not a bad dream to have. It's at least something you do want to look forward to and do actually want to do. So that might actually explain why you've been doing all these interviews to kind of help you get prepared for that sort of thing.
Well, in a sense, yeah, but it's more so just to help you all out. I just want to help you all get more followers, get more money. You deserve the love and support.
Thank you, and honestly, you do as well, because chances are, without doing these kind of interviews, then even the fans of those probably wouldn't feel as connected with the other voice actors or actresses or even with animators, because I do kind of feel you need to have that sort of blend between being personal and professional, even with your fans.
Oh,
Like, yeah,
yes.
you can have fun and joke around and all that kind of stuff, but you also need to know where to draw the line. And there are some who really do not mind being asked personal questions, and there are some who really just want to just keep it professional the whole time. And that's fine either way.
Oh, of
You just need to know
course.
where to draw that line.
Exactly, exactly.
I guess one other question I would probably have for you. I'm sorry. Uh, I guess it'd be kind of along the lines of, your own personal taste of what you do like then. Because if you're not, because, I do understand there are people who are not going to like NSFW content. That's fair, but what kind of content then do you like?
What type of content are we referring to here? Like, because that's a broad topic in terms of, like, what you mean by content. Are you talking about general hobbies, or we talking about the more not safe for work style?
Um, I guess more like with general hobbies or even with general works that you do like looking at or that you feel comfortable looking at.
Oh, okay. Well, general hobbies. I love video games. I love the stories that they can tell. I love storytelling in general. Whether it's dark fantasy or sci-fi, I love deep characters. I'll admit, I'm a bit of a sucker for a well-written romance. Variety of music ranging from techno to orchestral, jazz. Like, there's so much I love. There's so much I'm into. Like, I love art. I love creativity. I love when people express their passions. Like, even if there's stuff that I don't like, even stuff I don't like, I'm not passionate about, I can still appreciate and admire.
That is very understandable.
But to give you maybe a sense of what I'm into, do you know about the video game franchise Doom?
Yes, I do know of it.
Okay. I adore Doom. I love Doom. The idea of a science fiction space marine fighting evil fantasy demons, like, mwah! Beautiful. Beautiful. I love that concept. I love the concept. And the games are a blast to play as well.
It's just the movie was shit, but yeah, they're a blast.
Oh, yeah, the movie. But the games are great. And the new one coming out very soon. Oh, so excited.
If you have anything else you want to ask me, even if it's about my artwork or something, by all means you can ask.
Oh, sure, sure, sure. Okay, do you have anything like you're working on right now that you want to hint and preview at?
Well, currently I'm still trying to improve on an animation. I do have one that I am currently in the works for making, and it's actually involving a couple of my more famous and popular characters. One of them being Sam and Iris, which are my lesbian couple that are extremely popular. I am planning on doing a bit of an animation with them. Might get some voices you don't know. Um, and it would be probably NSFW, but I also am more likely hoping to have an SFW and NSFW sort of artwork for them. In terms of with voicing, though, I actually am currently working on doing like a Twilight Zone, Tales from the Crypt sort of voice acting kind of storytelling. Basically, there are stories that either I've made or other content creators can submit for me, and they would be kind of released on Patreon. As of right now, I'm still kind of working out the kinks and everything for them. But because I love the sort of horror stuff, and it would have a LGBT and queer sort of context and content to them, some NSFW, some NSFW. I do variety, basically. I am working on doing something like that as well. So I am working on doing both voicing and a couple of animation and artistic projects. But those are essentially my biggest ones as of late.
Awesome, awesome. And tell me, Rose, if people want to go check you out and support you, where can they go?
Um, Primarily, all of my work is on Twitter. I am just getting my Patreon a little bit more handled, and then I'll be releasing a lot more on there. But more than likely you will be hearing or seeing that I have a couple things up. So as soon as I can, because that's also typically where a lot of people will see my artwork and everything. Because I do have a slushie, and I do have you know, other places. Not a ton, but the other one I could also recommend is Slushy. But in general, all of my content is up on Twitter. So if anybody is kind of curious to hear how I sound, my demo reel's up there. If anybody's curious to see artwork I do, it's also up there, and even a couple of the animations I've done are up there. So if anybody wants to, give it a look, go ahead. And feel free to message me. Seriously, ask me anything on there. I don't care what it is.
Like an open book. Well, Rose, thank you so much to agreeing to this interview. This has been wonderful. You've been fantastic. I hope you enjoyed yourself.
Thank you. I hope you had fun interviewing me.
Always do. Anyone and everyone I always enjoy. You have been just a pleasure. Now, this is the part of the interview where we threaten the audience with physical violence so that they go and check you out and support you. What should we threaten them with?
Well, that if they do not try to even seek me out or anything, then I suppose that I would either. Oh, I have so many fun ideas. I would have a hard time choosing. I mean, I would have a hard time choosing between using the Necronomicon to bring forth the demons from hell and then rip them apart, then bring their bodies back to life, and then just do the process all over again until they agree and bow down to me. Or number two, I guess, make them watch 50 Shades of Grey and then having to tell me all the good
Oh,
parts about it.
a fate too horrible to comprehend. So, you all know what to do now. Go follow and support Rose. Or else.
Yeah, that would be the or else, because you'd either have to watch the entire Twilight Saga, or you'd have to watch 50 Shades of Grey and say at least one, or actually all positive things about it.